Haere mai. Welcome to today's Midday Prayer, Wednesday the 6th of May. We will take the time to remember John the Evangelist. In our calendar, traditionally, he's remembered on December the 27th, but is often overlooked by Christmas, so I thought I'd take opportunity to celebrate this feast today. The Gospel set for today comes from the end of the Gospel of John, and it goes like this. After this, Jesus said to him, "Follow me." Peter turned and saw the disciple whom Jesus loved following them. He was the one who had reclined next to Jesus at the supper and said, "Lord, who is it that is going to betray you?" When Peter saw him, he said to Jesus, "Lord, what about him?" Jesus said to him, "If it is my will that he remain until I come, what is that to you? Follow me." So the rumour spread in the community that the disciple would not die. Yet Jesus did not say to him that he would not die, but, "If it is my will that he remain until I come, what is that to you?" This is the disciple who is testifying to these things, and has written them, and we know that his testimony is true. But there are also many other things that Jesus did. If every one of them were written down, I suppose that the whole world itself could not contain the books that would be written. This is the Gospel of Christ. Today's Gospel on this feast of St. John the Evangelist suggests rather than names John as the one whom Jesus loves. We know little of the figure of John except through scriptural mention and stories that are passed down through the tradition. They tell us that John was the son of Zebedee, a Galilean fisherman, and Salome. He and his brother James were among the first disciples called by Jesus. His mother was among the women who ministered to the circle of disciples. Jesus called James and John Boanerges, or sons of thunder. They, together with Peter, formed an inner nucleus of intimate disciples. Christian tradition says that John the Evangelist was John the Apostle, one of the pillars of the Jerusalem church after Jesus' death, one of the original 12 apostles, and thought to be the only one not killed for his faith. However, the authorship of the biblical writings attributed to John has been debated by scholars since the 2nd century. Orthodox tradition attributes all of them to John the Apostle, but most modern scholars believe the Apostle John wrote none of them, although some still hold the apostle to be behind at least some, in particular the Gospel. And in the case of the book of Revelation, most modern scholars agree it was written by a separate author, John of Patmos. The passing on of any faith tradition depends on people of that faith continuing to tell its story and pass on its traditions. As this potted history reveals, faithful telling can include as much engaged debate as certainty. In our time, we are the ones who are telling the stories of the Christian tradition, or to use a particular turn of phrase, giving an account of the faith that's in us. The doing or living out of this faith will be as varied as we are people. What holds us in common is this narrative around Jesus. Through it, we glimpse some sort of truth about ourselves, about living and being in relationship. In case making a claim for some sort of truth revelation makes us feel uncomfortable, let's reflect just for a moment with the theologian Wolfhart Pannenberg. In explaining the different understandings between Hebrew and Greek thought of the idea of truth, Pannenberg writes of Israel, of Hebrew thought. For Israel, truth is that which will show itself in the future. Israel always lived from the experienced faithfulness of its God. Through its history, it's called to entrust itself to its God for the future. The Greek idea was somewhat different, that truth in some way lies under or behind things and is discovered by penetrating into their interior depths. I'm intrigued by this notion that truth is what will show itself in the future. The experienced faithfulness of God through history, real, down-to-earth experience in human time, engendered a trust for the future. We are living through unusual times in history. with a future that will not be like our past. We step toward and into that future with the resources of our past. Our most immediate past has shown us what we can live without. It has shown us what is most important. I wonder what truth, through our lived, experienced faithfulness in these times, will show itself in the future. The formal tradition depicts John the Evangelist as dependable, reliable, long-lived, an evangelist, a visionary, and a theologian. But there are also other rather colourful traditions that tell a bit of a different story. That Emperor Domitian had John brought to Rome, beaten, poisoned, and thrown into a cauldron of boiling oil, but John stepped out unharmed and was banished to Patmos. Another one goes that when John denounced idol worship as demonic and followers of Artemis stoned him, the rocks turned and hit the ones throwing them. And another, that John prayed in a temple of Artemis and fire from heaven killed 200 men who worshipped the idol. When the remaining group begged for mercy, John raised the 200 from the dead. They all converted and were baptized. Interesting and colourful stories that haven't made it into the biblical account of John the Evangelist, but do add richness and variety to our tradition. We each make up the rich tapestry of the continuing faith story in our time, a narrative that can be of hope into our communities. It is interesting to consider what truth our future will reveal about how we live that out. And so to leave you with a Benedictine blessing. May God bless you with a restless discomfort about easy answers, half-truths, and superficial relationships, so you may seek truth boldly and love deeply. May God bless you with a holy anger toward injustice, oppression, and exploitation, so that you may work for justice, freedom, and peace. May God bless you with the gift of tears to shed with those who suffer, so that you may reach out your hand to comfort. And may God bless you with enough foolishness to believe that you can make a difference in this world, that you are able with God's grace to do what others claim cannot be done.